What's up, everybody? Ian Walsh here, Hard Money Bankers. Doing a live broadcast today. As you know, uh, we've been sitting down with some elite realtors and brokers in the area to go over the shifting market in place. And today we are joined with author and local multi-state broker, correct? Keira Ingram.
Correct. Yes.
Keira, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. So yeah, it's very, very open to, there's no question things are happening in the market right now, right?
Yeah.
So we're up 2 basis points from like 5 months ago, which equates to essentially a 20% movement in pricing or purchase power, call it, not necessarily pricing, but because I don't think it's been reflected. What are you seeing in the market? Like, what are you noticing from your experience level?
Well, I am noticing that in certain areas things are slowing down. I'm also noticing that the listing prices for properties have gone up, but they are really essentially what they probably should have been when we're getting all these overpriced offers. So it's kind of like leveling out. Of course, we know the interest rate is up compared to the beginning of this year. But overall, I'm not really that worried about the market. I know that it's like the big thing that's in the news, but I look at the rental prices because I was in the business during the big housing bubble in 2008. If the rental prices and the mortgage prices stay similar, we're pretty okay. I mean, I know that's kind of like, everyone wants the hype of the story that the market, oh my goodness, we should be all running from real estate or running to it or whatever. But ultimately, if the rental prices and the mortgage prices are similar and don't go too crazy one way or the other, and the equity in the properties kind of stay where property owners have a lot of equity that they're not irresponsibly just taking all the equity out of their houses, I'm pretty secure that we'll be okay. I don't think that we are like all of a sudden in this big bubble that's going to burst like it did before.
So I was talking with, I don't remember who I was talking with, somebody this morning. But anyways, I had this conversation. I just don't know who it was with.
Okay.
Where I was thinking, so right now, just kind of what I'm seeing is you have a moment where you have all these post-COVID buyers coming in. Everybody started moving around because of COVID, right? So everybody
Right.
was like shifting. And then all of a sudden you had historically low interest rates. So you had this type of seller that was like, well, if I can get that much for my house, I might as well try.
So,
And then
right.
you also had this buyer that was like, well, I'm living in this house for 300 grand and I could be making the same payment and living in that house for 450 grand.
Right.
Right. So you had this like weird combination of like COVID plus these two other things happening.
Mhm.
I think what we'll probably see is like that grouping of like, might as well take this much money for my house, and the buyers that'll, we're like, hey, I can get, because now with the interest rates going up, they can't just get that $300,000 house is that $300,000 house now. It's no
Right.
longer that $450,000 house. So when that group falls, apart, not apart, I'm gonna say when they fall to the side, where does that leave it? Where do you think that leaves the market when it's like when you kind of like push them all aside and go, okay, we're back to like a normal functioning market? How do you think that's going to look?
I think it will look quieter, but ultimately buyers still want to buy. And the buyers that we have now versus the buyers we had in 2008 is that they actually are qualified. So
That's true. Yeah,
I
second
feel
better.
like that the market, the buyer desire that we have right now is real versus it being like a bunch of unqualified buyers that want to buy because everybody wants to buy real estate or be in real estate in some type of way. So as long as the mortgage criteria stay solid, there's going to be new buyers that are hitting the market. I think even with the ups and downs of COVID, buyers that were kind of like considering it, now they're going back to work, they're getting higher paying jobs, things like that are also happening in conjunction with the things that we see. So I do think that there will be a group of buyers that are going to step aside, but ultimately people want to buy and people want to invest. So I think that they're going to keep doing it.
Well, I like the term the buyer desire. I feel like there's like a tagline there, right? That sounds like a good like
Somebody should hashtag that.
some sort of marketing should be stuck to that. So, well, let me ask you this. Now, you have your license in multiple states. Are you doing business in other states besides Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm doing business in Georgia, Delaware, Maryland, and Pennsylvania.
And
Primarily Pennsylvania, though.
Primarily PA. Do you notice anything in the other markets besides? So like everybody watching this primarily is PA, but I'm always curious to know what people think. Somebody on the show, Sam McKeith last week was on the show, and he said he has a buddy in Georgia where the 50-year mortgage has become something that they've really rolled out in that. And I was like, that's a very, I don't know if I like that solution, but that's a real solution to like, you know, interest rates go up. Well, you keep the payments down with increasing mortgage distance.
Right.
So what are you seeing in the other markets? Anything like that? Or
I am seeing things like that. I don't really love that though, because ultimately, I know, especially in the market in Georgia, I see a lot of people that are like house poor. There's beautiful house, you go in, no furniture. Like, I don't like that. So ultimately, I want my whole goal is to increase real estate education, ownership, and wealth in my communities. I want them to buy. I want everyone to buy, but I want it to make sense. So the idea of committing, I personally don't prefer a 30-year mortgage, but the idea of extending that time, it really means you can't afford it. Like, that's the bottom line of it. So I just think we have to be really careful. And I also think that because the way the market is, I think that if the interest rates go up a little bit more, as long as they're not over 7%, I'm kind of okay with it, because people don't really remember, like, we're spoiled. Like, this is not normal, the interest rate that we've had. So I just don't want people to overextend themselves and put themselves in a bad position, even if they can do it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this time in the market, because I was here during the 2008 as well, that there's a little bit of a difference in like the financial education, I think, in people, or at least the scars that are left. Because, you know, in 2007 and 2008, I remember it was just all about like showing the things that you have, right? It was how big is your house, and like, you know, MTV Cribs was like the best show on TV. But like, and then all of a sudden 2008 happened, and there was kind of this disgust with like if you were like uber rich and you were showing it off on TV, people were really turned off by you. So there's kind of this like turn away from it. I don't see now. I feel like people are, maybe they remember that time a little more. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting rich. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But I do think that like people's priorities have shifted in terms of like they don't necessarily feel the need, and I could be wrong, but they don't necessarily feel the need to keep up with the Joneses all the time. Right. It's not just constantly like, how big is my car? Do I have the newest car? And there is an element of that'll never leave, because everybody's trying to do that. But I feel like people in general either require less to be happy right now in terms of material things, so therefore it is a little more financially responsible, and then hopefully therefore translates into the market. What do you think of that idea?
I think that that's true. And I think the fact that, I can't remember where I read it, but the fact that there's so much equity in people's homes now, and that they're not just grabbing it out and buying ridiculous things. I don't know if you remember, like, I knew a lot of people in 2008 that were like cashing out the equity in their houses and buying like a boat. And it's like, what do you need a boat for? Like, why are you buying these ridiculous
things? It was like just, that was crazy.
So I think the mindset now is a lot different. I think COVID has put a lot of things into perspective for a lot of people. And I think that people are making wiser decisions. I just hope that that continues no matter what happens with the market. But I do think we're in a different place as a society now, where we are being more responsible. We're more into financial literacy and making smarter decisions with our money.
Yeah, I feel like we got to go through this like weird time where like everybody got to get some taste of rich, and it was like, and people were like, hey, this didn't, you know, these things, these objects did not, that rich isn't great, but these objects didn't make me happy.
Correct.
And you're just kind of like, well, that didn't really make me happy. So then you get to this new run up in the market, and people, I don't know that they feel the need to get whatever they can and flaunt it. I mean, it's out there, but and I do think there was also an element of that financial literacy. It's been pushed pretty hard since 2008 around, in terms of people saying like everybody needs to be financially literate. And honestly, what I've found with financial literacy comes to just live significantly below your means, and your life is a whole lot less stressful.
Yeah, true.
That's it. Like, just do that. And you don't have to. Everybody I know that's stressed out is living in a level of like, how am I going to make next paycheck? Everybody that I know that's not stressed out, you know, they spend 10%, 5% on their living, you know, expenses in terms, or I'm sorry, their housing, right? And you're going 5 or 10%. That seems crazy. Well, you know, you can make that work, and then you put money aside. And so I think there is a higher level of financial literacy. I do think that there are more qualified borrowers getting in than 2008. There's a
Yeah.
different taste to that. I just wonder, we've got to, we're gonna slow down, but the question is like, can we find like a soft landing bottom or what? Like that's, it sounds like you think that there might be like a softening scenario, not like necessarily a crashing scenario.
Yeah, I think overall for consumers, it will be a soft land. I think for people like me in the industry that have a brokerage, you are having all these agents under you, it's going to be more similar to 2008, where it's like who is left standing. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of real estate brokerages have already closed during the pandemic, especially in Pennsylvania. We were like one of the last states that was allowed to practice real estate. So I think for our industry, on the inside of the industry, it might not be as smooth of a landing if people can't maintain their businesses. But for consumers, I feel like it'll be a soft landing. I don't think it's going to be this all of a sudden big giant thing that's going to affect consumers the way that it might affect people in our industry.
Yeah, that's fair. And obviously you can see I brought my partner Ryan on. Ryan, what's going
Hi.
on? Finish
I,
this.
I just left educating people on it. And Keira, I know I'm coming in late here, but I really appreciate what you just said, because a lot of what we have been finding with people on this show is that they're either one way or the other. Like it's gonna be terrible or it's gonna be great. And you kind of
Right.
just said it might be both.
It's going to be a little bit of both. It's going to be winners and losers. So that's our
Yeah,
industry, though.
yeah.
So yeah, that's I mean it's a good perspective. I'd say it's been the most neutral perspective we've had on the show so far, and in a good way. Like I could see it going that way. It doesn't have to be some kind of crazy situation. That doesn't have to exist that way. It could just be like, hey, remember that 2-year run after COVID? That was pretty wild, and now we're like back to normal or whatever. What's normal. And I do agree with you in terms of brokerages. There's going to be some fat that has to be trimmed in the marketplace.
Right.
And I think it's already coming. I think it's coming fast. I think people haven't quite put their license on the sidelines yet, but there's just not enough food to go around but we were also at a time where, and I kind of joke about this, but people would just go from their they'd be a substitute teacher, nothing wrong with that, or they'd be a construction worker, get their real estate license and be making 200 grand within 6 months. And you're
Right.
going, that doesn't make sense. Like, how does
Right.
that happen? So I think we're kind of maybe done with that. And because the ones that survive, the ones that have been through multiple cycles and so forth, those are the ones that tend to rise during these moments. And because you have to be established, you have to know how to market, you have to know how to adapt, you have to know how to do all these things to survive it. It's not just put a sign in the front lawn anymore,
Right.
which is okay. I mean, that's real estate is not meant to, if everybody could just roll over and make a couple hundred grand. Yeah, right. So how do you feel you guys will adjust
Well, I
to?
think it's more than just the standard business strategies of real estate. I think that the brokerages that survive this time are also going to have to feed agents beyond their businesses. So, like, I think that just like every other industry is trying to figure out how to bring more balance to their employees' lives, I think brokerages are going to have to make that jump, which is why I think a lot of the traditional style of brokerages are not going to make it through this time frame because agents can really hang their license wherever. They want somebody that cares about them holistically. I tell people all the time when I started this particular brokerage in November of 2020, I started with 3 agents. We have 40 agents now. So it's like, it's not about, I tell my agents, you can go interview wherever, talk to whoever. It's about, are you getting more than just like marketing tips and, signs and lock boxes? People want to know that people really care. So that's why I think within our industry, it's going to be a big shakeup because that's not how we are used to doing things. Like most brokerages, you join it based off of your commission split. And if it's 300 people there, you just kind of fall in wherever you fall in. But I think even agents are looking at things a lot differently since COVID.
I think so. I think the whole world is. Let me see. I see right behind you. I see your book. Can you want to just hold that up closer to the?
Yes.
Can you give us?
Can you
Can
see
you
it?
give a? Yeah, perfect. Can you give like a rundown as to like what that book really is about? Like, what did you focus on in it?
So in this book, I focus on my horrible starting journey in real estate. I joke now, I don't cry about it now that I didn't make any money my first year in real estate. So
Sure.
I'm super sensitive to new agents and agents who are like, I'm going to just let my license just go because it's costing me more money. I'm not making anything. So it's just really a guide for new agents or agents that are relaunching their business and just trying to figure out what foundation do I need, not necessarily to make $1 million, but just to make consistent income in real estate. I think a lot of times our industry is focused on 6 figures, 8 figures in real estate. And some people are just like, can I just get a regular salary doing what I love? So that's
Mhm.
what this book really helps people do. It's a lot of worksheet pages and like working through the process of figuring out how can you fit the industry into your life? How can you be authentic and how can you grow it into something that can let you have financial freedom?
That's great. Yeah, actually, as you say, you didn't make any money in your first year. Brings me
Nothing.
back. I'm like, yeah, there was about a 2 year stretch there that I was just pulling out of my savings, and
Right.
I literally almost forgot about that till you just made mention of it. But it was just like, there wasn't any money, but you just have this undying faith in yourself and
Yeah.
belief in yourself, where you're just like, I know what I'm doing is right. I know this is going to pay. I just don't
Right.
know when, but I know you just know. You
Right.
can't. It's a weird. It's a strange. It's almost a uh, you're almost a little bit crazy in your belief to believe that about yourself, and everybody around you is going, how, you're not making any, all you're doing is putting money back into this. Like, what are you doing? You're just like, just calm down. It's going to work out. So
Like, just trust
uh,
me.
just trust me. I trust myself, and that's it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good book to have, to read for anybody that has to understand that, especially opening up with your being candid about, hey, I didn't make any money in the first year. Like, this isn't all roses. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in the end, you can't replace the lifestyle, right? You can't
Right.
replace when you get to that point, whether you're like you said, making $1 million or $100,000, whatever it is. You can't replace like the autonomy. You
Right.
can't. So I don't think so. Ryan's best. Ryan, you would agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wish more people would tell what you just said, Kira, in the sense of like, hey, I didn't make any money the first year. The second year was okay, maybe, right?
Right.
But because you're so right. Like, all you see on Facebook is, oh, I made 6 figures, I made 7 figures, right? It's like, it's setting false expectations for people.
Yeah.
Um, so we have so many people on the show, and a lot of them will come forward and say the same thing, saying, I didn't make any money the first year, right? And
Right.
I just wish more people had that expectation. And I don't want to say you can't, because there are people who also made money the first year, right? Yeah. But it's just, like you said, you want to help motivate people who are thinking of maybe retiring their license, or maybe not unsure of coming back. And I think that story is great. And yeah, I haven't read the book, so I can't personally vouch for it, but
I'm gonna send
just
y'all a copy.
perfect, perfect. And then we'll promote it after it tells the story of how to be successful in this industry. And you don't have to put the pressure of, if you're not making 6 figures in the first year, you know, you didn't make it. No, it's not the case at
Right.
all. So
Right.
Tell us, Kira, what would you want to leave everybody with today? Anything important or anything you really want to get across?
Yeah, and I know it's going to sound so corny, but the thing that I would want to leave with people, especially people in our industry that are watching, like, focus on how much impact you can have on people, not how much money you can make, because ultimately the money will come, but how you make people feel, how you're able to help people, that is what is most important. And I think that's one of the things that is most lacking in our industry. So that's pretty much what I would leave with people.
I like that. It's actually the second time we've heard that now in a week, and it's so true. Like, but you don't think of that necessarily when you're in the beginning. In the beginning, you're like, I need money, money, money. But then
Right.
by the time you're like, if I just thought of other people along the whole way, or I
Yeah.
just thought of bringing value, this would have worked out a lot easier and less sweaty about
Yeah.
getting to that point. So,
it's
well,
pretty
Kira,
consistent.
okay,
It's pretty
it is
consistent.
consistent. Yeah,
You know,
from the producing agents, yeah, or realtors, yeah.
yeah, exactly. From
Mhm.
those who are doing well right now, they all say, just think about other people.
Yeah, don't think about the money necessarily. Yep.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, I'm really glad we did this.
Yeah.
Look, I got a few people. I actually got a handful of comments. Some of them I understand, some of them I don't. James asked, "Do you think there'll be a flight to lower cost of living areas, especially with the virtual workplace expanding?" What do you think, Kira?
Um, I don't know because it's just so weird. Like, no matter what happens, people still want what they want. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel like for commercial spaces, definitely more virtual, everything, co-working spaces, all of that good stuff. But even in a situation where one of my offices is, we got a space in a co-working space, but we got a permanent space. The owner's business starts taking off so much that they're like, we don't think we want to do this co-working thing anymore. Can you guys, can we give you guys some notice for you to leave? So I think that businesses are booming in a way that we weren't so sure about like a year ago, like what was going to happen with spaces and things like that. So I think people still want what they want, and I think that although virtual spaces are a thing that are going to be here to stay now, I think we'll still see people go back to regular commercial, huge buildings, lots of overhead. Not me personally, but I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a thing.
I am completely not sure. That's where I am on that. I
Yeah.
am really not sure. I'll take your lead on that because I'm not convinced. Like, one day I'm like, yeah, everybody's, the commercial industry should be back in order soon. And the next I'm like, nobody's in an office right now. What's going on? Like, I have no idea. I'm just glad that I guess I don't, have to worry about that very much.
Right.
So
I'm with Kira. I like what she said there, that people want what they want, because I personally am going to go to the lower cost of living, but I have family who's like, I love the city. I want to be in a big office building, right? So it's totally
yeah,
personal preference. You choose.
I would say, I would say people will probably just, I don't know about a flight to lower cost of living areas. I think it's just like you said, like just a cost. It's just gonna be this. I think there's gonna be like everybody's gonna be mixing around for a while until
Right.
they start to settle in areas, and maybe that does end up being lower cost living areas. Maybe though it ends up being New York City. Who knows?
Right.
I don't. I think if people are gonna go to where they desire more than anything else, and which is what you're saying, I think is really good. And Natalie says, "Do it, the money will come." I think that was referring to what you were saying earlier. And one more comment. People may not remember what you said, but they'll always remember how they made you feel. It's good. That's a nice way. That's a nice thing to say. So
Very true.
awesome. Well, Keira, this has been great, and we'll catch up, and we'll also be sending this out to our email list. And if there's anything anybody wants to contact you, your email has been scrolling across the bottom during the whole show.
Feel free to email me.
Awesome. Thanks, Keira.
All right. Have a good one.
Take care.